So Mobclix, what are we? We're a mobile applications platform focused primarily right now on iPhone and Android developers. If you go to the next slide, what's kind of our logo? In just 15 minutes, 15 lines of code, we make your iPhone application, or mobile application for that matter, a business. Essentially, we launched the company last year at TechCrunch 50. We were also a Seed Camp winner in London, which is very similar to Y Combinator. And this year, we were very fortunate to win the Limelight Award for Ad Tech, which kind of showcases the best mobile and emerging ad unit. Essentially, a developer comes to our website, they log in, download a piece of code. That code they then embed into their application. And from there, the Mobclix platform gives them analytics, distribution, and monetization. So we're kind of an end-to-end solution for the mobile application developer. So in terms of some trends, unfortunately, you can't really see too much of it, but the top three, it's $1 billion, it's a billion, downloads per day. From there, you have about 60,000 applications in the App Store today in 80 countries. What that really means is the App Store is growing about 223 apps per day, right? So discovery is a huge issue. How do you bubble up? How do you filter out from all that noise is something we're actively looking at. If you look at some of the trends that's coming from our data, you'll notice that the first category in terms of what are the magnitude of apps, it's going to be 99 cents. The second category is free. From there, it's about half-half between iPhone users to iPod Touch users, as well as half-half for carrier to Wi-Fi. And there's a 10% market share that people don't have connection, which means you're on the plane, you're traveling, or you have poor AT&T service. And then if you kind of look at this in terms of what the ideal demographic is, you'll notice that the iPhone, the iPod Touch is a great demographic to target advertising to. The majority of them have 8 applications installed on the phone, and they are the buying segment, right? So the idea of analytics now becomes even more powerful because now that you have this buying segment that actually wants to play with something, interact with something, how do you leverage all this information? So from there, if you go to our website, we just took a quick snapshot. You'll notice in terms of categories, what's there today. Games pretty much ruling most of the downloads. If you look at the next big 2 categories, it's going to be medical, lifestyle, fitness. Those are the 3 trends we're seeing. Another interesting thing from all the applications, a lot of developers are asking us, what languages should we support? Right now, you're looking at languages. English is obviously the primary driver. Number 2 is Japanese. From there, it kind of really dips. We have some developers who really focus on the Spanish markets, some developers who focus on the French markets. But again, language is actually becoming very important because going back to the 60,000 applications around in the store, how do you bubble up from that noise? Localization plays a big play. So we have very detailed specifics on each category that we work with developers on figuring out what should we do. In terms of buzz, this is something we're also calculating. We look at Google Trends, Twitter, as well as the App Store to see what are people talking about. 60% of the buzz online is about free applications. The rest of them caters down pretty tremendously, which is, of course, really related to where everyone's downloading. People mostly download free apps. They talk about it. What are they talking about? Really go to action, entertainment, arcade, puzzle. They go further downstream, family, board games, racing, productivity apps. Not too much talking going on in terms of the blogs, in terms of what's going on in Google. In terms of price, we talked about it earlier, 99 cents to 0, and then from there, it goes all the way down. Again, analytics being critical to figure out how you should price your app. Now, in terms of click-through, in terms of validating the whole idea of advertising, what we're finding is it's 5 to 10% now if you're able to have an engaging ad unit that's on the iPhone, or for that matter, a mobile device. Because it's interactive, you can actually interact with the customer, and then again, if it's powered by analytics that understand the users, you now can actually give a correctly targeted advertising. So in terms of some findings that we have from our data, we're looking at how do you demystify the App Store? If you're a top ranked app, top 25 free, you're looking at about 3,000 to 15,000 downloads a day. If you have 1 million downloads of your application, it's about 200,000 uses a day, right? So that's again, how do you plan for the users you're going to have? How do you scale your infrastructure to support all the load? You'll notice that it's important to understand where you're ranked, right? Rank it right now is really driving your download numbers, as well as attrition rate. Within a month, you're losing about 45 to 60% of your users, which means analytics is going to become very important to drive that goal. This is some of our growth to date. We've been really fortunate to have a lot of great traction, some great PR. Right now, we're at about 70% of all iPhone, iPod Touch devices. We're doing about anywhere from 4 to 5 billion impressions a month, as well as taking about 4 to 5 as well for the events that we're actually taking for analytics. So we're taking large amounts of data per month, calculating all of that, what that really means from segments, and then driving that back to the developer. Right now we're in about 3,500 applications, and we work with all the top publishers to date, as well as long tail. So in terms of how our platform is really kind of designed. The first bucket is analytics, advertising, distribution, and discovery. Those are the 4 pillars we really kind of look at the Mobclix platform. If you go to the next slide, it kind of talks about analytics. So what does it mean to be analytics, right? Focus of our conversation today. It's really different from the web world, right? When we talk about analytics, people think about Google Web Analytics, people think about Amateur. But when you're having a mobile application, it's not always on. You're going to have delayed data that's going to come in, and people want to have real-time data, right? Real-time information. So what Mobclix delivers is crash logs. So if your application crashes all of a sudden, we'll basically give you a session trace of why it crashed. What did the user do? A lot of people want to know, how is 3.0 getting upgraded? We're looking right now, about 40% of a specific app is now having 3.0 users, right? That's a really interesting thing to figure out, what should we really design for? If you look at the bottom left corner, it's business processes. What we're able to do with that is if an application, say Urban Spoon, right? Urban Spoon has 5 core features. You can find a restaurant, shake it, you can make reservations, you can write reviews. How do you know what people are doing in your app, right? Going back to the business processes. So what we do for developers, we aggregate all this data for them, and then it allows them to drill into each specific segment to understand what people are doing, which is why we always tell developers, if you have a cool app, release it, right? Because people are like, dude, how long should we take to release an application? Some people are like, if we wait 2 more months, we'll make it even cooler. We're saying, dude, you have something, just launch it. Because if it doesn't come out now, with 230 apps being out a day, you're going to have competition, right? So launch it, put some cool analytics on it, and then figure out what people are using, and then make that better as opposed to what you think is what people want, right? The other big thing we also do then is, the typical analytics, connection type, device type. We really break it down, and it's completely interactive with the user, and we help them, and we actually work with them very closely to figure out how they can leverage that more effectively. Great. So from there, this kind of just talks about kind of our segmentation. What do we really offer? Once we have the segmentation like a diehard gamer, we put the parameters in, and then from there we figure out what campaign is going to really work well with the user. And then from there, that's how we really drive it home. If you go to the next slide, this is also something unique to our platform. We also kind of help the user basically get connected to their social graph. So if they want to use Facebook, Open Social, and Twitter to actually connect to the user, we track all that information back. Again, understanding who their mavens are as well. That's pretty much it. Thanks for the time. Mobclix.com. This presentation is going to be up on our blog. You can follow us on Twitter. And all 4 of us are here as well from the services and report team. Thank you so much for your time.